Start it.
Okay, continue. Okay, so meeting is called to order, and for, what is the date? 8/10/2021. And where is my agenda? Oh my God. Not organized today. Sorry, guys, I got up at like 4 o'clock this morning. So I believe do we have any comments? Do we have any comments? No comments?
I think the only non-board member would be Daryl, but he had to leave, right?
I
don't
don't know if he had to leave.
I think he was going to run out on the call with them, or else he would be back if not.
Okay, so then I believe the next thing is Chief's report, because I need to find I printed Heidi's agenda, so I don't have the agenda. How do I do that?
It is the chief's report. You're correct.
Okay,
Okay, I did send a copy of the report out Friday, hoping everybody had an opportunity to take a look at it. Are there any questions with the report?
I'm good.
I'm good.
I wanted, if we could, I'd sent a note out earlier, if we could get some more detail on what's going on in facilities with the annex. Any more background information on what the root cause was and what the expected scope of those issues is.
I haven't had a chance to get back with Brent regarding that. I did ask for a report. I unfortunately been out since yesterday, have not seen anything, so I hope to get that as soon as possible. Doesn't look like Brent's working today, so.
He called me earlier and he said that they have a list of a lot of the topics, but the final product that you're waiting for is in the works, and Mahoney's working on that, and he hopes to get it to you soon.
That's on the annex?
Right. Well, yeah, the annex and all the electrical issues, namely, but specifically everything.
Okay. I know that he has let me know that any life-threatening issue is I think been taken care of. So, but we still need to understand some of the electrical and the water problems. I know a minor repair was made to the underground pipe, but I'm not quite sure what that pipe was for. I think it was for the fire protection, but I'm not sure.
And Chief, just to follow up and share with the other commissioners, when the report came out that that we were having these problems with the annex, that it's maybe had some issues with its system over the years, but it never has been a problem. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, everything's not working. This all occurred at the same time that a massive construction project was taking place on the Root property next door. And they had heavy equipment in there, and they were digging things up, and the house they've like removed the foundation, and the house is up on stilts and so forth. And it just caused suspicion on my part that there is a high probability there could be some cause and effect there between those two issues.
I did mention that to Brent, and he was going to check into the possibility of that having an effect on that. Again, unfortunately, I haven't had an opportunity to follow up with him yet.
Especially because, I mean, those properties are so close to each other, and there's a suspicion that there was actually some connection with the water systems that nobody knew about because of the history of that property.
Could very well have been.
So can you guys explain to me what their issue was on the annex? Is it because we didn't have access to the back, or? Because
No,
I
we
didn't
just
see.
we just had an occurrence of seemingly unrelated things that happen, electrical, water, and so forth. That once we looked at it, it was a condition that's been that way for quite some while. I mean, there was actually some illegal wiring that was done in the building. And interestingly enough, it had been signed off by L&I apparently in 19 whatever. Brent had checked that. So I don't know. I don't understand. I'm not sure the full scope of the problem, nor even the cause at this point. Again, I've asked Brent to look into that, and I have not had an opportunity to talk with him since we last. Been a couple of weeks now.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody else have anything?
The only other thing I've got, I just caught this a few minutes ago. I sent Brian and Brandon a note about this on the page 2, the IR&R staffing levels, the next to the bottom total line that says summary of staffing level for the month. It shows Station 81 at 100% and Station 83 at 75%. That number should really be 64%. That's the actual for the station for the month. The
Wow.
bottom, the 82% combined for the district is correct. It looks like the wrong number got brought down.
So instead of 75, it should be what?
No,
Mel?
that's not correct, Mel. For the nights and weekends, we had an aid car there 75%. So that would have been 75% for Station 83.
Well, but that's
For day shift, for
for
nights.
days. But when you say total, that to me suggests that it's the total for the whole station for days and nights and weekends.
Oh. Okay.
So, yeah, it's pretty, and is that just because I mean, why are we so, I know we have two guys off on, or on light duty. What is the reason? Or do we have people on vacation? Why do we have such a difficult for being able to staffing, just to give us sort of insight?
Well, that's a good segue because that's the next item in the chief's report is a report on our recent staffing. So Brandon, can you take that?
Okay.
You bet. Yeah, I was hoping to give some updates, talk about several variables, and then hopefully get some discussion going. Hopefully maybe even get some feedback if anybody has any ideas that we haven't explored. We're open for it. Just to kind of summarize some of the factors, like Gloria mentioned, yes, we do have 2 people out on injury, which makes an impact in and of itself. There's that factor. Also, something that isn't new, but summer pops up every year, and every year it's always rough. That's, of course, when people are asking for vacation, and there's vacation, so staffing goes low or higher in the summer. Volunteers are almost always less available, and they have other things going on, and we don't get all the coverage. Staffing's been rough on all that. Not even to mention just of who we do have who's unavailable, we also have lower staffing numbers. So we're having some real problems. One thing that to keep in mind is our attrition, or I should say just our exit out, has stayed kind of the same, about the same amount of people have quit. I mean, volunteers have all sorts of reasons why they quit, move on, leave, family, work, somebody's sick, somebody had a baby, somebody has a new job. So we've had the same about 6 or so, about once a month, 6 or 8 volunteers in a 6-month period is kind of our norm. So on average, we lose about 1 volunteer a month to 2 months. So that stayed about the same, but the problem is our refilling has been much worse. COVID, I did look, I'm kind of tired of blaming everything on COVID, but the closer and closer I look and do all these studies and find out what's really happening, the more it circles back to that for several reasons. One is, yes, we had less applicants overall. Everybody had different things going on in their lives, and we didn't get the same number of applications. People haven't been out and about. So we didn't get as many to process through. We also didn't get a whole lot of people passing of those who did. And then we had several washout this cycle. But probably a bigger factor as to why we're feeling it now is we got to keep in mind that generally when we miss a cycle or we don't have a group of volunteers, we usually don't feel that until 12 to 24 months. On average, I say 18 months later. So that kind of correlates into the same time. If you recall, we missed a whole cycle where we didn't recruit anybody. We missed a whole window of recruitment process. And the following one was pretty shy. So I don't want to sugarcoat it, but yes, we're feeling these hits. And unfortunately, we're going to continue to feel them because that, 12 to 24 month period is still processing through with us. So the downside is we didn't get a lot of new volunteers in last time. We only have 2 new members. We've got 2 actual new people, and then we got a combination of new member or of current members that are going into EMT. So we got a decent group of people that are going to become dual certified. But we don't have a whole lot more coming in. So it's kind of this perfect storm of a lot of different things. Another challenge is, we just updated our recruitment process, so how the testing and all that works. So a lot of that comes from the reason if I know Dan, you were talking to the commissioners, county commissioners meeting, but we had done a study. We've been ahead of this for several years about high dropout rates for EMT and people in fire academy and who's not successful either academically and a lot of that. So for that reason, we did change kind of our selection process. And the truth is, it's more rigid, it's more stringent, and it does weed more people out. So while we're compounding the fact that we're getting fewer and fewer people to apply, we also are having fewer and fewer people who are successful in our updated, more stringent application process. So those numbers are continuing to hurt us even more. So it's hard to sound all doom and gloom, but I'm trying to give you the raw fact of where we are. And this is definitely bleeding into how staffing looks today, yesterday, and this month. And unfortunately, it's looking like it's going to continue. Well, hopefully, maybe after summer eases out and we get into the fall, maybe people don't want to be on vacation anymore in winter. That might help us a bit. We generally feel some reprieve, but for all those reasons, is really indicative as to the challenges we're having on staffing in general. I'm hoping that if we get the station opened up again, another thing that hurts, just kind of give you more background on what happens with volunteer selection, is a big piece of what we do. Generally, what we'll have is we'll have a flow. I consider it I'm thinking of it like compared it to fishing. You're fishing for volunteers. You got to find your spot where you're looking for the fish. You want to find fish. You want to get the fish out. And one of the important steps is when we get them their interest, they apply. We get the word out. They come in, and one of the big ones is we give them the tour. We give them the tour of the station. They get to see the engine. They get to sit up in the seat. They get to look at the hose. They get to talk to the guys. They talk to the firefighters. They see the station. They see the recliners, the rooms. They see all this. We talk about how cool it is to respond, and they get to meet. And that's when the energy gets really, really high. And I found about half to 2/3 of people who come through and get our tour, our nickel tour of the station, generally leave with lots of energy. And I'm almost not guaranteed, but about 2 out of 3 of them will get me an application back. I haven't done a tour in over a year now. So we don't get that. And then, so a lot of it's phone call. And I mean, I can do the best sales pitch I can on the phone, but it's only so fun talking to some guy on the other line at the fire department telling you about all these things. So while I have had some inquiries and people asking about volunteering, not as many as normal, a little bit less on that, I also don't see as many applications coming in. And I have to kind of attribute a little bit to the fact that I don't think that we're getting worked up and excited and motivated on that. So this is kind of a compilation of a lot of different factors. But I guess just to kind of give you that as the background, I'm open to more ideas, but I only have a handful of ideas to kind of help with this on the volunteer side. And of course, the big one is we haven't done a lot of effort on recruitment, especially because we weren't taking applicants for a while. We weren't processing them for a while. So I kind of felt a little shady, disingenuous if I was out there beating the drum about how great it is to volunteer, but we don't need you now or don't apply now. So we haven't been doing that. So that of itself is also going to take several months to get that drum beaten again and getting people motivated again and get more applicants in. So I would say when we're ready to get that stirred back up again, we're probably going to have to get back into a recruitment mode, and that has been lacking lately. So there's plenty of different ways about how to get out and advertise and word of mouth and all of that. But getting more ambitious about our recruitment efforts is about the biggest and shiniest nugget I have as to how to go about this, at least on our volunteer side. I know we have discussion on career and volunteer staffing options, but I don't want to lose sight of our volunteer efforts. And I think that there are a few steps we can do to kind of help with that and, reinvigorate that. But, like I said, I just want to get some of the information out for everybody, but by all means, this is kind of intended to be some dialogue, and I'd love to hear more thoughts.
Nope.
Brandon, just a quick follow-up question. You said that we were not accepting applicants. When was that and why?
It's not, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say we weren't accepting them. We're still accepting them, but for that cycle, we weren't testing them. That's what I meant. We had the applicants in, we told people we'll take them anytime, but there was that period when we couldn't have anybody in the station. We didn't apply. So it was kind of like, it's not that we weren't accepting. I still took all the applications. I never told anybody not to apply, but it felt disingenuous to tell them I'm not actually doing it, the next recruitment cycle, and we didn't process it.
Was this, we're getting a lot of noise.
Yeah, I don't know.
Was this because the academy was shut down, or was it for some other reason?
There you go. I think it was on Pam's. I'm sorry, Pam was, I think it was coming from the noise. I'm sorry, Mel. Say again.
Was this the reason we weren't moving people forward? Was it because the academy was shut down, or was it for some other reason?
Right, back in 2020 when we didn't even have anybody come into the station, and we didn't have an alternative form of how to test, apply, and do all that. If you remember, we used to have people come in, do a written test. We'd run them through, gather everybody up. We did a big physical agility test. We did the big group interview test. And then this was back at that same time last year when we didn't have anybody in the station, and we weren't allowed to bring anybody in the station. We couldn't do any testing. We had to come up with an alternative way of getting all these tests done. And that's what led us to the evolution of outsourcing to CPAT and the college test to get all that. So I'm mostly talking last year. I'm just saying we're feeling the effects of it this year of not having that cycle.
Okay. Yeah, now means that you don't have the volunteers coming in. Obviously the budget, you're not using that money. So how much in the difference in money that we would have in the bank or whatever for the amount of recruits that we always had and that we always kept on, and now we don't have as many as we did. So dollar wise, where's that? I mean, that money is just sitting there. So
yeah, I hear what you're asking. That's a good point. I haven't done that study, but I think I might.
Because we need to know, because if we're going to keep going down this path, and it's going to be maybe 2 years before we can start getting volunteers back in because of all the testing and all that, then we need to look at how much money is in that budget that we can transfer it over to put towards our new firefighters that we eventually want to hire. And do we need to speed that process up because we're in such a bind of lack of staff?
Yeah, I understand the concept you're getting at. There are several different line items on there. Like, for example, just the recruitment and advertising budget would just be that's actually a real small one, but we just have a certain amount of money that we've generally spent on advertising campaigns and recruitment brochures and materials and things like that, which is really a small piece of it. What you're talking about is the holistic savings.
Oh yeah, you're talking the individual person of what does it take to educate them, to get their equipment, get all their gear, all that. We now don't have. How many members do we not have? And that would be money that would go towards that now we aren't using it towards that. So it needs to get used it needs to be re-put someplace else to help compensate
Yeah.
for the
Like,
lack
well,
of having volunteers.
I did a look this morning, looking at our volunteer roster for, as reported this month versus a year ago.
Mhm.
And there are 18 fewer active response volunteers. So it's a very significant number in terms of the volunteer force.
Yeah,
But I think if you look at the budget, you add up the cost of those volunteers compared to a career firefighter, it's a fraction.
so
you're not
18
gonna-
volunteers doesn't equal one
No.
firefighter?
No,
Wow.
I don't think so. I mean, but yeah, let the chiefs, they can look at that, but it's
Yeah,
it's and it's an ongoing slope. I mean, we've got that reduction, but we also right now we have 5 more who are, or no, we have 11 who are on leave of absence status right now, whereas we had 5 on leave of absence status a year
so
ago.
is that,
So that suggests that we're not done with this. It's gonna get worse before it gets
so
better.
is that the volunteers, Milt, that you're saying are leave of
Right.
absence, not
Right.
career people?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, it is on the downhill slope. Okay, does anybody else have any more input on this?
Well,
Doug,
what,
you've been a volunteer for years. What are your thoughts on all of this?
I didn't hear who you were addressing.
Doug, to Doug.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what Brandon is saying, and we've had there's been a conspiracy of events that has led to, kind of where we're at, changing in, all kinds of changing conditions. I don't know what the relationship is to costs for a cadre of volunteers versus a cadre of career folks. But I know once you hire career folks, they expect to continue to be hired. And so if you swung back with your volunteer force, you wouldn't, it would be unfortunate then to go back through and say, oh, now we're going to do layoffs. So that's not the kind of employer that we want to be.
Right.
Right. But so there does have to be a balance. Looking at budgets is a good thing. It gives us an understanding. Probably what it does is it gives us an understanding about timing of the operations and levy, operation and maintenance levy kind of stuff that we would have to do, as opposed to we know the fix now is we've got these dollars, we'll spend them right now and get more career guys. There's some combination of things there. And yeah, I hear this and I feel awful about it, and I have this fleeting thing that goes through my head. Well, okay, maybe I'll come back. Well, yeah, but nobody wants me to come back. You don't want me to come back and be a volunteer, because that would be just one little tiny finger in the holes in the dike.
Yeah. Okay. Does anybody else have any more comments or suggestions?
well, I just, Brandon, I don't know, what are the ideas you guys have as far as what can we do that's different? Has there been any brainstorming and developing new ideas? Are we talking with our volunteers about ideas they might have about how we could reach out and connect better with people? And is it really essential that we not let a prospective member in for a tour? If we put them in enough PPE, couldn't we give them a tour? If they're vaccinated, as an example. This, to me, this is without a strong volunteer program, our department is not going to be able to function effectively, and we can't. We're not going to be able to generate enough revenue to provide service without some strong volunteer program.
Yeah, I didn't understand if you actually want to get into some of the specifics or not, but pretty much all of them revolve around different concepts of how to enhance recruitment. I think now that things are, I'm not sure if things are easing up or not when it comes to the COVID and the restrictions and all that, but that was my thought up until well, just recently. I don't know if things are changing, getting worse, getting better. But what you said was, yeah, to try to get the tour back, which was that was really a big hook. So I'm kind of hoping that we can get that definitely. Another piece is I'm planning on doing a survey to our volunteers, namely at the end of the year. And every few years we've done a November, December all volunteer survey. Some of the questions are the same as years before. So I used to benchmark and trace, hey, is morale going up? Is it going down? Is it different? What's some of that? But we've done a lot of effort in the past. We can continue to do it. But I think for the most part, I mean, even doing a survey, we have a rough idea of what the current members of who's in with us, what their motives are and what their drives are and what their goals are. And it is actually increasing more and more for those who are career minded. We don't have, unfortunately, as many of the Doug Kilpatricks who are just here to be a good guy and hang out for 25 years and to meet a good team. So even that, it's kind of like the survey would even just sort of probably reinforce the fact that, yeah, do more to help me get my career job, which doesn't necessarily help us identify the new things or the new ways. I think we have to get kind of a combination of what would our current members think, appreciate, want, and do. What would someone from the outside want, think, appreciate, need, to try to draw that in. And then I would refer back to our previous studies on what we do for recruitment and retention, in that we find out the different ratios of, well, how many people come apply to us because of word of mouth, what I call internal, meaning our own members who go out and tell their friends, pals, buddies to come on in. It's a great department, join us. And then there's word of mouth external, which has been inverted in the last several years, meaning that ratio has been a lot higher. By external, I'm talking about Olympia Fire, Lacey Fire, Tumwater Fire, the departments that are generally not looking for as many volunteers. We always keep them fed with brochures and materials and go talk to District 8. So we're hoping to see more of that come back.
So have you done anything with like the high schools when they have their career days and that kind of thing? Have you
We've
been
tried
involved
it.
in those?
We've tried it. I'm generally not a fan of it. At that maturity level, I don't see as much drive right away. Not giving up on it, but more often than not, they're either looking at what they want to do, or they're not thinking at all, or they're not quite ready just yet. Like I said, I'm not written it off, but yeah, it hasn't been my favorite checkpoint.
What are your peers saying? What are other departments in the county or whatever saying? Or what are they experiencing, and what changes are they making to try to deal with these issues?
Unfortunately, my peers in this arena are getting smaller and smaller as well. There's more and more that have gone career, and that's been less and less. But for those who are still strong on volunteer programs, they're hearing a lot of decrease too. I mean, we're not alone. This isn't a South Bay suddenly screwed something up and now nobody wants to volunteer at South Bay. But we still see a consistent all around the county having a hard time with, well, not just county, but nationwide, hard time trying to get more and more volunteers. But I guess in all honesty, I probably ought to, touch bases with some of them, because I haven't recently, last several months. So I guess I can't give you a real good snapshot. I haven't talked to Bald Hills or I talked to East Olympia a bit, but they're kind of having similar challenges too.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would find that extremely helpful, and especially as we are considering down the road looking at additional levies to support an increase in career firefighters. I think having some concrete information that's not just our anecdotes, but is some solid information that looks at us and other districts in the area and compares common scenarios and problems that we're having. I will find that kind of information to be a lot more compelling to help justify to me why we might want to go down the route of additional career and M&O levy. So yeah, if it's possible to gather more information that's comparative like that without too much trouble, I would think that they might appreciate sharing information too, because if they are in the same boat, they're going to find that information helpful also. So I'd appreciate looking into that.
Sure. Yeah, and we all have been pretty open and honest, and the recruiter arenas and all that. So I think everybody just had other things going on. We haven't really talked about it much, but yeah, I can look into that a little bit more from how they're all doing, get a better, more updated status on it.
One other element of this that I think is bigger than fire and everything is just the whole unemployment situation. My observation, at least since I've been involved in fire, is that it's a lot easier to recruit volunteers when unemployment is high. And in the current employment world, people can pick and choose which job they're interested in. So there may be less interest in pursuing volunteering as a stepping stone to career. So
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say because I could probably argue it on either side. In some sense, maybe people are not doing well on their job and they're looking for something new, and maybe they do want to volunteer and try it on a new career. On the other side, they might be distracted with trying to get a job and they don't have time to volunteer.
but companies are begging for people to hire, and they're just not showing up. So it's a very tough recruiting world right now.
Okay. Yeah. If anybody has any more thoughts, suggestions, or any of that, I'm always open to it. I'm going to keep on brainstorming how to get ahead of this. But if anybody has any thoughts, feel free to give me a call.
Okay.
My just experience has always been that our volunteers are our best recruiters, and get them and I know you know that too. Just get them as engaged in the process as possible.
Right.
It's sort of one of those that maybe you can do some kind of reward thing. How I built my hair business when I was first in it is I had 3 business cards, and when I gave it to a client and they referred 3 people to me, they got like a free haircut. So maybe you need to think of something where if a recruit brings in 2 new volunteers, they get some kind of little reward for doing that.
It's an incentive.
We have considered that several times, and there's pros and cons to that too.
Mhm.
So that's
Well,
why
there's got to be stipulations to it. I mean, it can't be, oh, well, we brought somebody in and then a month later they quit. It's like they've got to have that total follow through kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess just real quick, I'll tell you my main hiccup on that is I'll go back to my Air Force days when I didn't get anything for anything major for recruiting someone, but the rumor was out there that if you recruited somebody and they joined the Army or the Air Force and you brought somebody in, you get all these big kickbacks or a promotion. And it sort of took away from the validity of my word. So for that reason, I'm kind of against rewarding people for that, because if they go and they talk to their friend and, hey, if you come volunteer, it's gonna be great for you. Well, what do you get for it? Oh, I get this thing. I get this new thing or the money.
Oh,
here.
okay.
And then, so you're just trying to sell me your used car because of your commission.
Oh, okay.
For that reason, I don't want to give people, I want it to be that they legitimately go, no, I don't get anything if you join, other than having a cool new friend and a cool new member in my department. And I get to hang out with you more often. And I think it'd be great to have you come help us out in the department. And if they can legitimately say that that's the truth, they have a bit more genuine buy-in. So that's kind of why I try to avoid that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Good. Okay. I do have I was reading on page 3, I believe it is the personal management relations. And there was a response on July 7th, and it sounds like it was a mass casualty incident and criminal activity. So was that new law into effect, and did the police respond to that, or were our guys having to make decisions on that particular call or whatever? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, if it's the one I think you're talking about. Chief, did you want to address it? You want me to give an overview? I think we're probably asking about the Dove Road. Are you talking about the Dove Road event?
It just said incident that included serious criminal activities,
Yeah.
mass casualty incidents, and so
So in short, if it's the one you're talking about, there was a big party. A couple of kids got stabbed, a fatality. They did save one. And there was a lot of learning lessons. There was a debrief on it, countywide debrief for everybody who, Lacey, Olympia, South Bay, and all the officers that were on scene. And in short, the big concern of the hazard was there was 50, 60 party people fleeing, leaving, running around this whole neighborhood. And there was a dozen police units, a dozen or more, I understand, police units. And then when we're all showing up, the scene technically by our definition was not secure.
Mhm.
And the confusion came in where law enforcement, and that's something we're still working on at the county level. At the county level, I know the chiefs are working with the police chiefs group to try to help clarify what does that mean and what are practices when it comes to be secure. At the district and other fire service operational level, I'm working with the other ops chiefs to try to help clarify what that means at our level. But in short, on that call, yes, we found ourselves in a scene where there was violent events. People were stabbed. We didn't know who the stabber was. The knife was still on the ground, and we found our units in the middle of a call on scene where technically we didn't have an all clear, a clear scene from law enforcement. And some of the details, one of the confusion was one of the law enforcement officers kind of waved our guys, "Hey, this guy's bleeding to death. Come here."
Oh,
So there was confusion. Oh, does that mean we're clear? But
yeah.
instead, it was kind of a face-to-face. One cop decides to say, "Hey, I see a fire crew and this guy's bleeding. They need to be here." And it was, I think, kind of the confusion was that that particular law enforcement officer wasn't representing the command structure of law enforcement. It was just, "Hey, come here." So our guys kind of maybe thought that to mean, "Oh, so we're coming in." Okay, we're coming to find out that wasn't the case. So we had a debrief on that and a lot of learning lessons, and there's still some actions we're working through on that.
Okay. But none of our guys got hurt.
No.
Were we with the first responders on that call?
Yes.
We were. Was it in our district?
Technically it was Lacey, but it was one of those little pockets where
Okay.
we beat them.
Okay. Okay. And then it looks like the other one was the next one down. The Chief LeMay and Hall attended the Washington Department of Labor and Industry webinar. So did they, the reduction to work compensation fees and that. So is Labor and Industry going to reduce fees?
The
What is that?
program is set up that you can reduce fees. I can't guarantee that they will yet because it has to go through a whole setup of a survey, a department survey, basically asking questions. Does your department have a seatbelt policy? Does your department have this safety procedure? Does your department? And so Hall, as our safety officer, is working hard and doing a great job getting us set up into that program.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't say that definitely we will, but rather I can say the program does have some ability to help a department save if you're able to get so successful or meet so many benchmarks within the program. Heidi's raising her hand.
I would like to add a comment that because we signed up for that program, they did already reduce our rates
Oh, heck,
Okay.
by 5%. Uh-huh.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
oh, good, thanks for that.
Okay, that's all the questions I have. I just was curious on those. Anybody else have any more on the monthly report?
I have one other thing in equipment facilities, same page 3.
Mhm.
The Chief Van Camp, LeMay, and Heidi went to or met with some people from the Pacific Office Automation. Are there some things that we're doing with your office needs, or is this identify some weaknesses?
So Pacific Office is the IT service that we use.
Yes.
It's the name of their company, but they basically perform all of our IT management. And we met with them to review our surplus list and to get recommendations for replacement of laptops, desktop computers, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And we're working on that, which is a great segue into our budget schedule because we're going to be including that in our budget proposal for next year.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I think if nobody else has any questions, then we can Looks like we have to review the budget schedule.
Yeah, so I sent out the budget schedule, which is basically just listing dates and events that we plan to do. And for the month of September, the executive staff are going to conduct a review of our current budget and prepare a draft proposal to give to the board for next year. And then the plan in October the chief will be presenting his budget policy recommendations and a preliminary draft of the budget. Then we're going to schedule a meeting that hasn't been set yet for October to meet a special meeting with the board just to review the details of the draft budget and make changes as the board recommends. The proposal continues that in November at our regular board meeting, we would conduct our public hearing and adopt the expense, or actually it's the revenue budget. We don't have to adopt an official expense budget, but the board does do that, but it's more of a technicality. Sometimes we wait till the end of the year for that. November 30th is when we have to file with the county, and that is for our tax levy. And then in December, again, we would hopefully adopt the expense budget.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? No? Okay, well, that sounds good. Then we have secretary's report.
Yeah, so I have the meeting minutes that went out for the last meeting, July 13th. There were a few minor changes to the minutes and that revisions went out to the board.
Okay.
I would move that we adopt the revised minutes as sent for the July 13th meeting.
Do we get a second?
Looks like Pam is second.
Yeah.
I just had to get my phone off of mute. Sorry. I'll second it.
Okay,
Okay.
we've had a motion and we've been seconded. All in favor, say aye. Or
Aye.
amen.
Bye.
Okay, opposed? Okay, that's approved. And now we have the warrants, Heidi?
Yeah, so I sent out the warrants. Are there any questions that I can attempt to answer on those?
I'm good this month.
Good.
None
I'm
for
good
me.
on it.
Okay, do we have a
Heidi,
motion? Oh, go ahead.
I've got
Mel.
a question, and I apologize that this just jumped out at me. Looking at the detail for the last page that says itemized list for Lowe's credit card purchases. Lowe's $287.71. The first item there, mini fridge for station food storage at 83. We had that last month.
Yeah.
So is this just the same report over again? Is it?
I noticed that
I would
too.
have to double check on that. I just grabbed the credit card report, to see if it was a repeat, but it might be that she renamed the same report. And if that's the case, I apologize, and I can double check tomorrow and resend that to you.
Okay, because the amount in this detail sheet does tie in with the US Bank credit card thing. So it may be just the detail that's underneath the Lowe's.
It could be the
287.
detail that just didn't get corrected. I can double check on that for you.
Okay. So do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
Second, Pam. Okay, so we had the motion to, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
That's approved with with the correction at the bottom
Yes.
Right.
that Milt was
I will
talking
do
about.
that.
Yeah, because I noticed that too. So
I will double check that and resend that this tomorrow morning then,
thank you.
if it's incorrect, which I'm going to assume that it is. Sorry about that.
Okay,
Uh,
Um,
If we bought another mini fridge, I want to have a discussion.
I'm sure we did not. So the last thing that I wanted to share with you, then, and again, I sent an email out, but I just wanted to have a discussion if there were any questions regarding the Washington Cares program. And that is a mandate that is being sent from the state of Washington requiring all employees to pay into a program for long-term care unless you opt out. And in order to opt out, you have to find a viable qualifying program, and you have to go online yourself and apply for an exemption. There's a certain document that they would provide you if they approve it, and then that document has to be shown to the employer, who would then not collect.
Oh, we just lost you, Heidi.
Right.
Heidi, you just
That,
froze
Oh,
on
there
us.
she is.
money
Now
from
she's
you.
back.
So, oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes.
you were freezing.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Did you all get the email I sent out?
Yes.
Yep.
And I know that I will probably be not participating in the CARES program, but having.
Were
the
there any
opt-out.
questions?
Yeah.
No,
Nope, I'm good.
Okay,
it might change before then anyways.
Yeah.
that's true.
Well, you have till November 1st to make that decision. I believe it's November 1st.
I thought it was
that-
October. It might be November. I thought it was October, but anyways, yeah,
Yeah.
they're talking about changing it, so we'll see. There's mumbling going on anyways.
Well, some of you are already retired. You have to look at it as you're gonna have to pay into something that you are not going, you're not gonna get to use because you have to pay into it for 10 years. 10 years.
With a
So-
$36,000 limit on it anyway, so it's not a lot.
I know it doesn't sound like a great program, but
So, okay. Thanks
So
for that
Heidi, do
update.
we need to do we go online and fill out that paperwork ourselves, or do we notify you and
you have to go to online and fill it out if you're going to request an exemption. And once you're provided with the documentation, you would have to give it to me.
okay, thank you.
Okay, so our next thing is the Washington Firefighters Conference.
So I just wanted to remind you that I did book rooms for all of you that requested it, which I believe is everybody. Gloria asked me to cancel hers, so I did that. But there's still no information from the WFCA yet. I went to their website and it says it's coming soon. So once it arrives, then I will provide that to you.
Yeah.
Did they get my name corrected?
Was it wrong?
Yes.
the
Early
room?
on, when you first purchased the rooms, you told me that the name was wrong. You'll see if you can get it.
Oh yeah, I did. I corrected that. Yeah,
Thank you.
for sure. And
Well,
that's
it
all
was-
that I have.
Yeah, it was a very good conference last year, but unfortunately, I'm going to retire at the September 23rd from standing behind the chair, and I'm going on a month-long vacation with my husband. So I won't be there for October.
That's great.
Yeah. So
I'm hoping to go, depending on how my husband's chemos and all that goes. Well, that's a play it by ear, day by day.
Yeah, yeah. So do we have any commissioner comments from anybody?
I will say one thing, in the Thurston County Fire Commissioners Association, their next meeting is next Tuesday night, but in lieu of having a normal meeting, they're having a picnic that same night out at Lawrence Lake, if any of you are not aware of that. And it's kind of a potluck for everybody that wants to go to it. I guess they've had it out there before. I can send on some information to anybody that wants it.
Actually, I think I got one, the information from the,
I thought you would, yes.
yeah. So I already got some.
Yeah.
Okay, and Brian, I hope you're doing well and everything in your process went good and I'm glad you could make it to on the call tonight. He's muted. He's probably sleeping. No, I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
there you go. Yep, wishing you the
Okay.
best for a speedy recovery.
Okay. Anybody else? Any more commissioner comments? Then we will, review and follow up. Heidi? Oh, it's supposed to be,
Yeah, so we are going
Thought we had
to get back to you all about the status
you're breaking up, Heidi.
and anything related to,
Heidi, you cut out.
Sorry.
You cut out for the entire thing you said.
oh, I'm sorry. I think my internet must be going on me. I don't know why. The annex,
Okay,
can you hear me?
yep.
Annex, changes to staffing. I'm gonna check on that credit card clarification. And that's all I have.
On the staffing, I want to just reiterate it. I'd really appreciate if we could look into getting some comparative feedback from other departments on what their experience has been on recruiting and retention in the last, say, 18 months. And just what are they learning the same lessons we're learning, or are there some lessons they're learning that we could take advantage of?
I have that noted down. I noted that Gloria was curious to hear about volunteer costs and that you were curious to hear about other departments on volunteer recruitment.
Right.
I'll have an update. I don't know if I have all the information by next month, but I'll at least let you know where we are in the study.
Great,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so any more comments from anybody? Then Pam? No?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, so then we will adjourn for the exempt session for what will take about